Hey there YouTube, this is Vargas XX78 with another comic book collection pickup video. Just wanted to share with you guys all the comic books that I picked up for this last month. So let's start off with these comic books. There are a couple of comic books I wanted to talk first. Now here in Mexico we do get comic books, but they're all in Spanish. I prefer to pick them up in English because that's how I started collecting comic books, reading English books, so I like to continue that. But I saw these on a post on Facebook, and for the Mexican comic books, during the month of October, which is Halloween and El Día de los Muertos, DC Mexico released these Calaveritas variants. Here in Mexico, because of Day of the Dead or El Día de los Muertos, everything gets decorated in skulls and skeletons, and because that's our tradition here. We here in Mexico we have a different outlook on death than other cultures. We tend to celebrate death and visit graveyards for and take offerings to our dead family members. So I've never seen DC Comics or even Marvel Comics, the Mexican division, do this. So when I got wind of it and I went to the only comic book place that sells comic books here in Mexico, they didn't have that many. But I was able to get these, and I'm really happy I did. I was able to get Wonder Woman. This is Wonder Woman 37, the Calaveritas variant. And I picked up Superman 30 with its Calaveritas variant. Harley Quinn 3. And Batman Eternal with a Joker cover. So I thought these were pretty cool. I do wish I would have gotten the Batman one, because I'm happy that I was able to get Harley and the Joker, because they look pretty cool together, and Superman and Wonder Woman. So I got the couples at least, but I would have liked to have gotten the Batman one. They also had a Hawkman, Green Lantern, and the Justice League in this fashion. But actually, here's the back. They released a couple of products with the Calaveritas theme, but I really wish I would have found out about this before and gotten the Batman one, because it feels weird having Superman, Joker, Harley Quinn, and Wonder Woman and not Batman. But if somewhere down the line I see it, I'll probably pick it up. Okay, so on to the rest of the comic books. This is Aliens vs. Vampirella, issue 3. This takes place in the future. Vampirella is still alive in the future, and she's going to a space station that has vampires, but they were overrun by the xenomorphs. So far it's a pretty good story. I'm liking it. I don't know how long this is going to go, but yeah, so far it's pretty good. It's pretty dark. It's pretty gory. Like I said, I've been interested in collecting Vampirellas, so this seems like a good series to start, because it's interesting to see how a vampire fares against xenomorphs, and I'm not sure if these are supposed to be vampire xenomorphs, because they didn't plant facehuggers on vampires and on Vampirella. So supposedly when a xenomorph imprints on something, they take some of their capabilities, like the Brood. But I haven't seen any indication that there's a vampire xenomorph. Picked up Amazing Spider-Man issue 3. Parker Industries moves into the Baxter building, and the Human Torch has an issue with that. It's also revealed in this issue that Harry Osborn, who changed his name to escape Norman Osborn's shadow, is working with Peter Parker. The scheduling in Secret Wars is all sorts of messed up, so no one really knows how that's going to end, actually. But so far the only people that have popped up in the Marvel Universe from the Fantastic Four is the Thing and the Human Torch. Doctor Doom and the Richardses haven't popped up anywhere, so their fate is still undetermined. But I'm kind of digging the new status quo for Spider-Man. It's cool to see Spider-Man with all these techs, but at the same time, I don't like that they're making him like a kind of like a Tony Stark sort of character. But this is Batman 46, where James Gordon is still trying to fight Mr. Bloom, who's this new really creepy character that have popped up. His first Rogue, I guess. They're still kind of dealing with the fact that Bruce Wayne is not Batman himself, but I'm still digging this. I read that Greg Capullo is going to leave the book, which kind of sucks because his artwork really was awesome in this. But I don't know who they're going to get into the book. But as long as Snyder's still writing it, I'll still pick it up. And even if he wasn't, I'll still pick up Batman, because Batman's by far my favorite DC character. Also picked up The Dark Knight 3, The Master Race. This is the sequel to the Dark Knight Rises thing that they released. First was The Dark Knight Rises, then The Dark Knight Returns, then The Dark Knight Strikes Again, I think it was called. That the second one was not good. This is their third attempt to catch lightning in the Dark Knight Returns universe. The cover looks pretty badass, and the artwork by Azzarello is pretty good. Kubert also, no, actually it's written between Frank Miller and Azzarello with artwork by Andy Kubert. I think it's Andy Kubert, or is it Adam? I'm not sure, but at least the artwork is pretty cool. In this one, it's like in the future, and it's not sure of what the fate of Bruce Wayne is, but considering he was already old, they do say that Bruce Wayne is dead, which is possible, but he supposedly died in the first Dark Knight, so maybe he's just, laying low. Picked up Secret Wars issue 7. This was supposed to be an 8-issue miniseries, but they bumped it up to 9, so it's now a 9-issue miniseries. But like I mentioned before, the scheduling on this is freaking ridiculous. The last issue, issue 9, is supposedly going to release until 2016. So that's stupid. I mean, Marvel's already pumping out new Marvel Universe comic books, and they still haven't resolved these Secret Wars things. It's stupid. It's a great storyline. I like I mentioned before, I like what if stories and alternate realities and everything. But the scheduling on this book has had a whole bunch of issues and setbacks and everything. So it really sucks that Marvel threw away this awesome opportunity to tell a great story with their freaking shipping schedule. Picked up Star Wars issue 11. Really liking Star Wars. Stuart Immonen came into the book, and his artwork has actually worked really well with Star Wars. I'm actually digging it a lot more than I thought I would. And picked up Star Wars issue 12, where it's kind of resolved about that lady that said she was Han Solo's wife, but she knows she's really not. It was all a scam that Han Solo was pulling. So he's technically not married, but Han Solo, Leia, Chewbacca go and try to rescue Luke in Coruscant. So yeah, that gets resolved. Picked up Darth Vader 12, where all of Darth Vader's machinations are kind of collapsing on himself, and he runs the risk of being discovered by people that are trying to take his place, basically. I've talked wonderful things about this book. I really love the Darth Vader comic book, and the artwork, the writing is just so cool. Actually, I should have started with this one, and this is the first part of a big crossover event between the Star Wars books. This is called Vader Down, and which I talked about last month. Basically, what happens is that Darth Vader goes out to seek Luke. And Luke, as a means to stop him, crashes his X-Wing against Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. So Darth Vader falls alone into a Rebel base. So the Rebels think this is an opportunity to take down the Empire's greatest weapon, who's Darth Vader. And Darth Vader's just there to, mow down anyone that he can to try to find Luke. So the premise is really cool. I really like this. And the story continues with what I removed here before, which is Darth Vader issue 13. Now, the cast of characters that are helping Darth Vader want to rescue him because, he's stuck between enemy lines. Well, at the same time, some people are trying to take his place, are trying to sabotage that. So, really cool to see, this happen. Picked up Superman 46, and honestly, the Superman books have kind of been disappointing. Superman got his powers messed up. He's not at full strength. He can't fly. He can't use heat vision, super breath, super speed, his super strength. He's basically they resetted Superman to how he was back in the 30s, early 40s, where he could just jump tall buildings in a single bound. And he had super strength, but he didn't have that much invulnerability. The big thing about this issue is that they apparently kill off Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen is trying to track down Superman, and he finds them, but Superman's fighting in these kind of gladiator arenas, and Jimmy Olsen gets shot with a laser beam. So it might work out better, but it does seem like Jimmy Olsen is dead. So that's the big thing about this. But I'm not too happy with what's going on with Superman. However, Superman Lewis and Clark is actually way better in my opinion. Like I mentioned with issue 1, this is the Superman that I grew up. The Superman that, has more, a more, I don't know, how would you call it, a more relatable, a more convincing moral code. This Superman does a lot of mistakes because they wanted to make him edgy. This Superman is the Superman that I started reading, again, since the John Byrne reboot, where he fell in love with Lois Lane, and Lois Lane fell in love with Superman, and they got married, and in Convergence, they ended up having a kid. They survived that, and they have been living in the New 52. But Lois Lane, apparently Intergang is a thing in the New 52. I don't think they even call it the New 52, but that's, what I call the universe anyway. And there's an Intergang, and Lois Lane, since she has prior experience in doing exposés on Intergang, gets in trouble. Intergang, wants to take her off, while Superman is trying to find Lois and John, their son. While at the same time, they kind of have this subplot with Hank Henshaw, who was the original cyborg Superman. But honestly, this feels like a Superman book to me, a lot more than this. It's written by Jurgens, who, like I said, wrote a long run in Superman, and this just feels like Superman to me. And I'm super glad to have this Superman back. If they could somehow do the same with Peter Parker, I'd be super happy. This is the one-shot for the Darkseid War Justice League books that came out for Superman. I picked up Batman and I picked up Superman. And Superman absorbed some sort of energy from Apocalypse, and he became like this evil power god. But it fits with with this sort of Superman, so it's not surprising that he would go that way. They released one for Flash, but I didn't pick it up. They released one for Shazam that I didn't pick up. I heard they're going to do one for Lex Luthor. I might pick up that one because I want to see how they're going to turn him into the new Darkseid. But I don't know how long this is going to be. I don't know how many they're going to release before they continue with the Justice League books. But they're not that bad. Picked up Uncanny X-Men issue 600, which is the end to the Bendis run on X-Men. Honestly, I'm glad that Bendis ended his run. I didn't much care for his run at the end of the X-Men books. The X-Men form an intervention for Hank McCoy because he's been doing a lot of questionable things. So he decides to be like, what, people, I'm through with you. I'm sick of all of you. They also, this was something that I read happen in the all-new X-Men books, where the younger versions of the original 5 were stuck in the present, and in that book it's revealed that Bobby Drake is gay. So, because they did that, older Bobby Drake would probably be gay, and it turns out he's gay, but he's been hiding it all his life because he didn't want to be even more of an outcast. He's already a mutant, and being gay would, make everyone, hate him even more, I guess. I don't know. That honestly felt weird. Just for the sake of controversy, like, let's make a running X-Men character gay. I don't have anything against it, but it just honestly seems like a money grab to me. But, at the end of this, Cyclops gathers all the mutants together, and he says he's going to start a revolution, and Magneto is there. And the book ends with that. The book ends with the time traveler mutants going to Hank McCoy and saying that this is the moment where something really bad happens, and that's when it ends. Supposedly, this book was going to release before Secret Wars, but it got delayed because of the shipping schedule. But that ended, and they also released Extraordinary X-Men, which happens after Secret Wars. That hasn't ended yet, but apparently the Terrigen Mists that were released all the way back in Infinity are causing like a plague on mutants. It's basically, because it's still in the atmosphere, it's sterilizing mutants so they can't procreate, and it's also killing them with a virus called the Mpox. Honestly, I don't like this. I don't like that Marvel is doing this. I mean, mutants were nearly extinct after House of M, when the Scarlet Witch said no more mutants. They just were popping back up with the Phoenix power. Now they're back into the extinction thing because of the Terrigen Mist. Honestly, this feels like because Fox owns the rights to Marvel, it feels like Marvel, just like what they did with the Fantastic Four, is kind of screwing with the X-Men, and I'm not happy about that. While I do like the Avengers, I love the X-Men a lot more. When I started collecting comic books, the X-Men were the books that I started collecting before Avengers or even Spider-Man again. The X-Men is what got me, one of the team books that I picked up. And it sucks to see what they're doing with the X-Men, because I do suspect it's because Marvel has rights issues with Fox. But the team that they have is interesting. They have Nightcrawler, the Jean Grey from the one that time jumped, Elena Rasputin, Peter Rasputin, Iceman, Storm, and Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan, I think, is going to be an interesting addition to this. This is the Old Man Logan that survived from Secret Wars, and it's good to have a Wolverine in the team. Even though this is not the 616 universe Wolverine, at least it's a Wolverine, but it kind of sucks that it's the old non-fast healing factor Wolverine. But he's an interesting character because, in his universe, he killed all the X-Men. So it's interesting to see how such a damaged character can interact again in this world. So there's a Wolverine. Actually, there's two Wolverines, but there's a Logan back in the Marvel Universe. And this is Extraordinary X-Men issue 2, where, the Marvel Girl is outed as a mutant, and the X-Men are trying to stop a couple of things that are happening. But like I mentioned, there's a Logan. I was going to get to that first. This is Witchblade. I picked up Witchblade 185, and this is the last issue of the Witchblade book. The Witchblade book released back in the 90s during the whole Batgirl phase, where you had Lady Death, Vampirella, Witchblade, and they had a whole bunch of characters that were Batgirls. But the only three that have any lasting power were Witchblade, Lady Death, and Vampirella. And now Witchblade, the Witchblade comic book has officially ended with this book. They kind of did a sort of okay job. It wasn't the best goodbye that they could have done for Witchblade. And I recently found out, but I'm not going to pick it up, that they kind of rebooted the Witchblade book. Whereas this is Sarah Pazzini, a cop that got hold of the Witchblade. In the reboot, it's a dorky teenager that got the Witchblade. So it does seem like Top Cow wanted to cash into the new wave of female young characters, like the new Miss Marvel or a character I'm going to talk about here. But it honestly, I was thinking about dropping Witchblade for a long while now. So this works out in a way. I am sad to see the book end, but at the same time, I'm not the kind of person that just drops a comic book unless the quality really starts to fall. And Witchblade was a good read, but it just didn't grab me as much as it did before. So this works out in a way. I'm sad to see the book end, but at the same time, I'm kind of happy it got canceled, because that's one less book that I have to pick up. And, between other responsibilities, I have to cut down on comic books. Picked up Wonder Woman 46, where the big thing in this issue is that Donna Troy is revived, and it's revealed that she's now become the new Fate. Ares, the god of war, is revived, so that's going to create conflict between Wonder Woman, who's the god of war, and him, and Apollo's also revived. So weird things are happening. But while it's not as good as the SRL run, I am still enjoying this. The Finch's run on Wonder Woman. Now this is what I was talking about with the other Wolverine in the Marvel Universe. This is the all-new Wolverine. X-23, or Lara, is going to take up the mantle of Wolverine. She's going to be, like the title says, the new Wolverine. And I like this. I like that this is going up. It was teased that it might have been Sabretooth, that Sabretooth was going to be the Wolverine, but that didn't feel right. I'm glad that it's X-23 who took up the mantle of Wolverine. Like Logan, she was trained to be a killer, she was programmed to be a killer, and slowly but surely she was able to fight the program and try to be a better person like Logan. So now there's two Wolverines in the Marvel Universe, Old Man Logan and X-23 Wolverine. And Wolverine is by far my favorite character in the Marvel Universe. I just love the character, and now that I have a daughter, it's actually kind of cool that down the line, if this is a hit, they'll keep Lara as the new Wolverine. So my daughter will have, just like my inspiration is Wolverine, she will have her inspiration in X-23. And picked up issue 2, and the storyline in this is that they created clones of Lara, but they're kind of like killers, and Lara has to try to track them down and save them. So, interesting premise. I'm liking the new Wolverine a lot, and it's great to have Wolverine back in the Marvel Universe. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is this Walking Dead book I picked up for my wife. It's in Spanish, but this is the trade paperback 17. We're watching The Walking Dead, and we were reading on Facebook that Negan is going to be a part of the cast. Because the big thing on the season, or this mid-season of The Walking Dead, is that Glenn apparently was eaten alive by the walkers, but it's been revealed that he survived that. But given what happens with Negan and Glenn in the comic books, I think he would have been better off dead with the zombies. Because I bought this specifically for my wife. She wanted to know who Negan was. She wanted to know what happens to Glenn, and so I picked this one up for her. It's going to spoil a bunch of things down the line on the TV show, unless they do changes. The Walking Dead TV show has been good at making changes between the comic book and the series to be its own thing. Because, for example, in the comic book, the governor cut off Rick's hand, so he doesn't have a hand. Well, in the series, that doesn't happen. And Daryl's not in the comic books, but he's a big part of the TV show. So there are major differences. But like I said, I wanted to give my wife a sneak peek at what's going to happen in the rest of the season, and she wanted to know what the hype was with Negan. So this book will clear that up for her. So yeah, that was the comic book collection pick of video. Like I said, some really good reading. That's the one thing I've been trying to do, is that I've been trying to cut down on comic books, but I've been trying to only collect really good stuff. So I think I've, so far, for the most part, achieved that. Like always, I like to end with the recommendations of this month, and I'm going to go with Wolverine, the all-new Wolverine. Like I said, I love the concept that X-23 is following the legacy. It's not some random character that has no history with Wolverine. It's a character that Logan helped, bring back from the Edge. So I'm really happy. And like I said, Wolverine's my all-time favorite Marvel character, and it's great to see that my daughter, somewhere down the line, will have her own, Wolverine version. And the other book that I'm going to recommend, which would really be no surprise, is Lewis and Clark, Superman, Lewis and Clark. If you grew up reading Superman in the 80s and the 90s, this is a no-brainer. You'll definitely love this. A lot more than this. And the Darth Vader comic books. Like I mentioned before, I love Star Wars, and I love what they're doing with the Darth Vader comic books. The artwork is beautiful. The writing is great. The cast of characters that they set up is amazing. I really like the Darth Vader comic books, and I'm really interested in seeing where where this Vader down storyline is going to go. Even though, honestly, there's no way that they're going to kill off Vader or Leia or Luke or Han or Chewie, because they do have to be a part of the Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, because this takes place between New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. But still, it's great to see what they're doing with this. So yeah, like always, guys, thanks so much for watching the video, and until I see you all again, this is Vargas XX78, signing out.